Welcome to another edition of the Gridiron Report. I'm Jared Johnson. I'm joined by the mighty Joe Yeager. Well, mighty Joe, Texas Tech is licking its wounds here, coming back from Washington, from Pullman, Washington, after that loss. I don't want to say devastating. I don't want to be too overly dramatic, but demoralizing, I think would be the right description. And now they face North Texas, 2-0 North Texas, 11 a.m. Central Time, Saturday here back at the Jones. More familiar foes. Eric Morris leads the Mean Green. Got a couple of offensive linemen that were former Red Raiders starting for North Texas's offense. Blair Conwright, who was a star at Lubbock Coronado and played 4 seasons at TCU, is also a receiver for North Texas. So it's eerily familiar to me to the first 2 games in terms of the matchup and being a known quantity and the tie-ins and all that. But what do you think about Texas Tech and North Texas?
Well, I mean, look, you got the evil elf leading the Mean Green. That sounds pretty dadgum scary right there, doesn't it? But you know, I feel right now actually fairly good about where Texas Tech is at, really defensively.
Okay.
Now I know they had serious problems stopping the John Mateer, the running quarterback, Washington State. But other than that, I thought considering how they were set up in such terrible position again and again and again, that for the most part they really showed improvement over game 1. Which how could you not improve over what they did in game 1? Right? One of the worst defensive performances in school history, probably. But
that's saying something.
To that, it's really saying something. I mean, even just in this century,
that's
saying something.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I trust still in Tim DeRuyter. I mean, I believe that he's going to solve things over time. So I think going into this game, defensively, Tech will be pretty much okay, but I'm not so confident on the offensive side of the ball. And, I think that's where it's going to be decided. Tech is going to have to protect the passer. North Texas only has 1 sack so far this year, but they have 20 pressures in 2 games. So they're getting there, they're just not getting home. And I mean, pressure, even without the sacks, could be just as effective. If you're flushing the quarterback and he's scrambling for his life, he's not going to be as accurate as he normally would be. So, I mean, they've got to cut down on that pressure, and when you consider that offensive line and the injuries up there right now, you have to be concerned about that. And then the running game is going to be another big issue as well. We don't really know absolutely for certain where Taj Brooks is at. You kind of think probably he's going to play, but we really don't know for sure. Again, the problems with the offensive line, the injuries, and North Texas has stopped the run this year very well. Only 3.4 yards per carry, I believe, on average. They're giving up a little over 100 yards rushing per game. Tech has got to get something done on the ground, whether with Taj Brooks or without him. And Kitley was not really willing to commit on a regular basis to the run against Washington State. We saw flashes here and there from Dickey and Valdez and thought, well, they look all right.
They're pretty good.
But I mean, they didn't get enough consistently, like in a single possession, over and over, repeated carries to really know exactly what they can do. So, I mean, I think you got to do that in this game. I mean, it's not going to be easy to run against North Texas, but Kitley, regardless of who was carrying the rock, has got to be willing to commit to it more than he did at Washington State, because if you're just dropping back every time against these guys, I just don't think that's going to pay any dividends.
Yeah, I think one of the big disconnects between us and how Kitley sees it, and he said it on Monday in the press conference, is that they consider a lot of those screens to be runs. And I don't look at it that way. I get what he's saying, like intellectually, but I don't agree with that approach. I don't agree that it's like running the ball. That's neither here nor there. Going back to the offensive line, I was concerned about this group and have been for years and all off season. I get tired of talking about it, but that's one thing I said, look, I think this is going to be a problem again. And then you lose I think who was considered your top offensive lineman in Vinny Scurry for the season. And McGuire did say that they're already about to start the process in terms of filing for a medical red shirt. So he should be back next year. We'll see about that next year. But Vinny Scurry's out, so Caleb Rogers is in there at left guard. It means Davion Carter's right guard. Ty Buchanan at right tackle. And Joe, I have nothing personal against the young man, but he has been a problem, whether it be penalties or giving up pressure and sacks. Ty Buchanan has struggled greatly, and I'm concerned about that. And on the other side, Sterling Porche had some kind of concussion type symptoms.
Right.
So he's listed as questionable. I have no idea if he's going to play this week. If he doesn't, that's Dalton Merriman steps in there. I thought he played okay. I think he played better than Ty Buchanan's played so far on the other side of the ball, and he looked really good in fall camp. With my own eyes, I saw him play well. So, but I do think offensive line is going to be a problem area moving forward, and how they scheme around that would be interesting. But getting Taj back sure would help a lot.
Yeah. No, I mean, you may be sort of in the same boat where you were last year, in terms of what you can do with this offense. I mean, I know Kitley wants to be pretty exotic with his offense.
He does?
I think in general, in terms of, like, he's not what you would call a ground and pound in between the tackles type of an offensive coordinator. Right? He stretches them out. Now, to say that these spread air raid type offenses are exotic, well, I mean, maybe not. I mean, they were obviously exotic back when Leach first got it going. But I mean, this is not old school football still by any stretch of the imagination. So, but I mean, he may not have much choice. I mean, if you can't protect your quarterback, and you do have Taj Brooks back, who's an All-American type of a running back, and maybe it's going to be easier for this offensive line to try to run the football and try to do some stuff creatively there than to constantly be dropping back to pass. You may be back to a situation where you have to rely on Taj Brooks to carry the ball 25 or so times per game and hope you can get it done that way, because with the offensive line the way it is, I'm not sure you can be as two-dimensional or as multi-dimensional as you would like to be moving forward. But yeah, that offensive line is a huge, if it was a concern coming into the season, now it's just a
big concern.
Keep you awake at night type of thing. So,
it really is.
Yeah.
Now, on the other side of the ball, Coach McGuire mentioned Monday that was his primary concern, which I think makes a lot of sense considering he's been a defensive coach and all those things. But I do think they looked better to start off the game. Now, the one thing that concerned me was I asked Coach DeRuiter, who I have a lot of respect for. I think he's an accomplished defensive coordinator. I think he's done a good job for the most part since he's been here at Texas Tech. But there's a couple of times when they've been burned by running quarterbacks, and when I asked him about it, the Monday after, both times he said he was surprised. One was against Kansas State. And don't get me wrong, Avery Johnson hadn't played a ton, only in spot duty before Texas Tech, before he ran for 4 touchdowns or however many it was. And he said he was surprised at that following Monday, which surprised me because I thought it was coming. We even said it in our preview. And then again this Monday with Mateer, when I asked him, he said he was surprised that they ran that much. And I don't understand, because Mateer was known. That's kind of like the first thing on the book on Mateer. Yeah. I had only seen him play like a quarter, and I knew, hey, you got to watch out for this guy as a runner. I think we even talked about it again. Yep. But he said he was surprised that they ran that much, and that's alarming to me. That's like the first red flag with DeRuiter, really, for me. I don't know if he's just trying to say it to get through the press conference, because he's definitely one of those guys like, I don't have to be here, but you shouldn't be surprised, is what I'm saying. And now I don't think Texas Tech's defense should be surprised, even if you have, let's say, Chad Morris. He hadn't run for a lot. Because he has been sacked a couple of times, but he has scored a couple of touchdowns. If I'm Eric Morris, that's part of the game plan. Texas Tech should not be surprised from here on out by offenses trying to use quarterback power, the quarterback run game, because this defense has been susceptible to giving up record-breaking performances like we saw from the tier last week.
Yeah. There's no doubt about it. I mean, if I was any sort of an offensive coordinator for any team playing Texas Tech in the future, that would be part of the package. I mean, I don't care if I had like Taylor Potts or Sonny Guppy back there. I would still probably run it 10 times a game with a QB there. So, I mean, you've got to, if you weren't prepared for it before, you weren't, aware of it before, you have to be now against everybody. So, agree with that. Morris is probably not one of the better running quarterbacks you will see compared to some of the guys you've already seen. He's no John Mateer, for instance. But still, I mean, you can't leave anything to chance, and you got a game plan for that from now on.
Absolutely. And then finally, I want to close out with, I think we might see a lot of yellow hankies.
Yeah, no kidding.
Because both these teams rank among the worst through 2 games in the country. Like, they're like in the bottom 5 of the country in terms of penalties per game. So that's something to watch out for. We'll have more about that in terms of what Texas Tech needs to correct in a later video. But for now, Mighty Joe, great stuff from you as always. Thank you all for watching, and until next time.